everyone. I'm Dana Perino, along with Trish Regan, Juan Williams, Jesse Waters, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. President Trump celebrating what he's calling incredible economic growth after a big boost in GDP. The economy growing by 4.1% in the second quarter. That's the fastest expansion, nearly in 4 years. I'm just so overwhelmed. The president touting the increase as sustainable and saying more good news is going to come.
We're on track to hit the highest annual average growth rate in over 13 years. We're going to go a lot higher than these numbers, and these are great numbers. When I meet the leaders of countries, the first thing they say invariably is, Mr. President, so nice to meet you. Congratulations on your economy. You're leading the entire world. America is being respected again, and America is winning again because we are finally putting America first. Everywhere we look, we are seeing the effects of the American economic miracle.
All right, Jesse. So one of the things about this is that we had 4.1% growth back in 2014. Doug Holtz-Eakin, the former CBO guy, was on the 2 o'clock show today and said the difference this time is that the economy was growing in all the right ways. And so he does think it is quite sustainable.
Yeah, and so does the president, and that's what all his advisors had told him. I mean, the Trump economy is so good, Obama's trying to take credit for it at this point. Remember, they said that Trump was going to crash the markets, and now the economy
is this the comedy hour or the Five?
Well, I'm funny, but also right. But remember, they said Trump was going to crash the economy, and now it's doing well, so they want credit. You just pick one. Obama. I mean, Obama mocked President Trump for saying he could get to 4%, and now he's there, and all the naysayers are saying, oh, well, now it's not sustainable, the same people that said it wasn't possible. And he's done this through tax cuts, deregulation, and energy production. But let's just compare under Barack Obama. I think the final year under Obama, it was 1.5%. He never hit annually 3% GDP, and Trump's on pace to beat that right now. And I think under Obama, they lost 200,000 manufacturing jobs over 8 years. Trump has already added nearly 4,000 manufacturing jobs. These numbers are terrific. Consumer confidence is up. Wages are up a little bit. They could be higher. 4 million jobs almost created since his inauguration. So good news all around. If he can just stay strong on the economy, focus on law and order, get these judges in, and get some trade wins before the midterms, he'll be able to get his approval rating up to the high 40s, which is going to be really important going into November.
Certainly be helpful. The other thing, Trish, I wanted to ask you about is the personal savings rate was actually a lot higher than economists thought, and that's good news for the health of the country overall, right?
Certainly. I mean, that said, I would just say that you do want people to be out there spending. And I do think that people are more confident right now. You mentioned consumer confidence, consumer sentiment. We're seeing, I think, an optimism in this country that we haven't seen in nearly a decade. And I can say that by the measurement in terms of what we're looking at with unemployment numbers and the jobs added. I can tell you that CEOs that I talk to on a regular basis are much more excited and optimistic about the future. There was so much uncertainty that I think overhung that Obama administration. The other thing I'd point out, you saw the president today and how excited he was and how he said, we can sustain this, and 4.1%, it's great, we're the envy of the world. Do you notice every time we got a glimmer of hope in the economy during the Obama years, he was never willing to say that. He always had to pedal back and say, well, you know, it's not enough, we're not totally there. This is a president who recognizes the importance of the psychology of the American consumer. Confidence matters.
Yeah, I've called him the head coach of capitalism here. The other thing, Greg, is that the economy benefited from the tax cuts, but the thing that doesn't get a lot of attention is how he just basically took the reins off of the regulatory piece. The President Obama tried to jam a lot through, and companies now that are having just a sigh of relief that they don't have all of those extra stuff to worry about.
How you all have been fooled.
Okay.
Clearly, this is all a distraction from scandal. He created this booming economy, this low unemployment, peace with North Korea. I always say North Carolina. And North Carolina. Trade, deregulation, judges. He's doing all this to deflect from scandal. That's what I'm saying, and I hope MSNBC follows that path. Trish, though, is absolutely right. People don't understand the power of persuasion, and these are, and I hate to quote Scott Adams, drink. These were always psychological problems. And it's like, if you can actually affect optimism ends up being the engine that creates productivity. And this is something that, President Obama, well, most people don't understand, but salesmen probably do, because they live and die by optimism and confidence. What was your question?
No, I was just saying that it wasn't just the tax cuts, that there was the whole
deregulation. Deregulation basically allowed the horses to leave the barn, to coin a phrase. But I will go back to this for the never-Trumpers and the people that don't like Donald Trump. America, we have a choice, and it's like, and I've used the metaphor of the doctor, a guy who's got a lousy personality but great with a knife, or a guy you can like who's terrible on a patient. I think the media keeps focusing on the doctor and not the patient. And the patient is America, and it's doing great. Don't you think? Thank you very much.
I think Scott Adams will be very proud of that one if he's watching.
He's hosting me on a book tour.
Well, that's a fantastic thing.
Yes,
now we got to give Juan some time to talk here, because is it hard for Democrats to figure out a way to run against Trump on the economy with numbers like this?
No, but first let me just say that I think it's great news for the country. So the thing about it is that the salesman part is exactly, Dana, what opens Trump to critics, because people will say, you mean you're taking credit for everything? I thought we just had a record number of quarters of sustained growth coming out of what people, I think, across the aisle call the Great Recession, and that it was a tremendous recovery, mostly under President Obama. Obama had
since World War II.
Please, are you kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding you.
It's the slowest.
I'm telling you the truth.
No, but that analysis requires you to imagine that somehow, we could have come out faster out of this Great Recession.
Yeah,
Yes, we could have.
And I don't think that,
economically speaking, historically speaking, every time you have had a recession, you do actually spring back, and usually the numbers look considerably better.
Yeah, but you don't understand that this was the worst recession, Tris. This is the worst recession. This is the worst the country had been since the Great Depression. So what we have now is a situation where things are going, I say, full guns, big boom, whatever. We've got a $20 trillion economy. We've got near full employment. And so the question is, how much growth? So today, the president's emphasis was on this is going to be sustained. But what you hear from the economists is that, hey, you know what? Part of this is that people were worried about the trade wars. And so a lot of, for example, Chinese buying soybeans was pushed way ahead in this quarter. What you get is a situation where wages still lagging. These are reality.
Three things disjointed together. You made a list of things because the news is so good. If you step outside the snow globe of, say, like CNN, which only focuses on porn stars and lawyers, you realize we're on the verge of a pretty awesome age.
I would hope so, but I'm just telling you that if you look at the reality, we passed tax cuts, or the president put in place tax cuts, that we saw this week are driving deficits at a higher rate.
How is it that liberals have suddenly become fiscal conservatives?
No, I'm just telling you.
No,
you can try to change the topic, but
sometimes you got to spend a little to get a little, right? You got to spend a little to get a little.
Well, we have a lot, and so I do think it's worth asking. Then, what are we going to do about spending in the future? You need the growth. But I want to play this because here's a possible solution for Democrats. If you follow her lead, watch.
If people pay their fair share, if corporations and the ultra wealthy, for example, as Warren Buffett likes to say, if he paid as much as his secretary paid, if we reversed the tax bill but raised our corporate tax rate to 28%, which is not even as high as it was before, right. If we do those two things and also close some of those loopholes, that's $2 trillion right there. If we implement a carbon tax, that's an additional amount of a large amount of revenue that we can have. Just last year, we gave the military a $700 billion budget increase, which they didn't even ask for. What we need to do is reprioritize what we want to accomplish as a nation.
Jesse?
I heard today that she actually has an economics degree. And that's just astounding because it didn't look like someone who was versed in economics talking about that. She was looking at her notes the whole time. She's talking about how.
What's wrong with that?
Oh, I mean, yeah, but you speak like a linguist, though. I mean, she's just trying to keep it simple for the folks. You're going way over their head. I think what she's saying is, you know, we can pay for free health care if we do this and they do this and we do this. And if we do this, it's going to raise $2 trillion. Well, guess what? It's going to cost $30 trillion for free health care. So she's not even close to paying for it. I mean, I do think she's a nice person and she means well, but I don't think she knows anything about economics. And, you know, I'm impressed that she was asked about it.
Didn't she answer the question?
I don't think she did. How are you going to pay for it?
Well, what she said quite clearly was you guys instead prioritize tax cuts to the point that you'll drive up the deficit. And then, you know, Tricia over here says to me, all of a sudden, liberals care about deficit. Well, I'm just telling you,
her solution
the deficit
doesn't pay for it.
Well, I'm just saying, if you said it's more important for us as an American people to take care of those who are ill, who've had pre-existing conditions, than to put more money in the pocket of the rich.
Juan, it's like someone saying, you know, how are you going to pay for this BMW? And she goes, oh, here's $500. I mean, a BMW costs at least 35 grand.
Well, I'm telling you right now, you can have added money if you were to say, you know what, here's our priority. We want to take care of people who are ill.
Well, maybe
in our
she
America.
just said if we had an investment.
All right, Greg's got the last word.
All right. Here's the issue. Nothing that she says pertains to wealth creation. This is always the difference between the left and the right. Her answer, her solution for any kind of monetary issue or gum disease is taxes.
Yeah,
it's going to be taxes. But if you ask them, how do you create money? How do you create wealth? They will look at you and they will look down at their notes and there'll be nothing in those notes.
They should start asking her how to create wealth instead of how to take wealth.
Yeah.
You know,
I think she would say what we need to do is just redistribute what we have.
That's what she said.
That's what she will say.
That's what's fun. That's alarming. I mean, that people fundamentally, I don't think most Americans, if you push them, will actually tell you that they want to go to work and turn over their check to Uncle Sam. I think most Americans really want to keep all that they have. But there is a part of the population, you think about the people that followed Sanders or the people that are following her, that say, no, wealth redistribution is okay. Yeah. That's the way they want to live.
All right, Juan, we got to go because we've got so much good stuff
coming.
Let
me just make one last point. We have too much income inequality, and it's becoming a political liability for you guys. Growth.